Hey there, Sharon Horne-Ellstrom here, also known as Pajama Grandma. What she up to now is my little daily journal of my daily record of what I'm working on, what I'm doing as I transition from the brick and mortar corporate America world to the online world of business. A couple of years ago, I was afforded the opportunity to jump out of my traditional lifestyle, my traditional way of existing, and explore something that I've always been fascinated with. I've always been fascinated with the online world. And maybe part of it was my naive appeal that, hey, you can hop online and you can do all these incredible things. You can work where you want, when you want, with whomever you want, wearing whatever you want. And for me, it was a bathrobe for a lot of personal reasons and business reasons. Bathrobe, the pajama grandma and the bathrobe totally represent the exact opposite of how I grew up and was raised, and the expectations and the beliefs that I had for decades. In corporate America, I was the corporate executive in the suits, in the three-piece suits when those were popular, the two-piece suits, but always a suit, always professional, always super dressed up, and the epitome of the hair and the buns and things. I grew up in that era, and when I found that I didn't have to be that way, I didn't have to choose that lifestyle for myself, and the internet opened up this whole world of opportunity for so many people, for so many of us, that I have always been drawn to that. And as part of my divorce, I found that I needed to divest myself of my other assets as part of that contract and agreement. So it was a great opportunity and a good reason and a good springboard for me to follow other interests, to look into and explore other things. And one of those things I've always really been attracted to is, hey, this online world, how does this work? How can I figure this out? Now, today is day 759 of just me documenting what I'm doing as I'm going through this journey. So obviously I don't have it all figured out yet. Now, I came to terms a little while ago that, guess what? I'm never gonna have it all figured out with respect to pretty much anything. I don't think there are very many people that could actually sit down and say, hey, I got this life thing figured out. I know exactly how it works. And maybe they can say, I know exactly how it works for me. But for each one of us, we have to go on that same journey and figure out how we want to create our life, how we want to set our life up, how we want to get our life to work for us. And that's a very individual thing. We all have to go on our own journey. So this is my long-winded journey of transitioning from the brick and mortar, what I call the real world of business, to the online world. And I have a slightly different approach to the online world given my offline world experience. It's very different than most people who are online just selling the online coaching, marketing platform or online courses, online program things. I have a very different level of experience and background with respect to that, so I have a different approach to it. Which, good, bad, ugly, it's just different, right? We all have and we all figure out what works for us, and that's what we share. That's what we share with the rest of the world. Or actually, that's not true. Most people don't ever share it with the rest of the world. Most people hoard their information and their knowledge, and they don't share it. They're afraid to share it. I think there was a lot of that gets built into our school system because we're competing against each other for grades in these curve systems that are set up in work and in corporate America. Corporate America, there was only one CEO. There was only maybe one or two presidents for a company, and as you go down and as you go up, there's less and less opportunities in that structure. And so I think that always bred internal competition, and so people were and continue to be very tight with what they know and their information and their skills. And that's changing, but for the most part, that's how we're indoctrinated, and that's how we're taught to behave and believe that there's this scarcity. There's a scarcity of awards and positions and of resources, and therefore we have to hold tight to our best everything that we know, which is, actually ridiculous. And the opposite of how the world really works. It's the more we give, the more we share, the more value we add, the more we're rewarded in return. And not just monetarily, but in all the other things that really matter and count. So Busman's holiday, was talking about that today on Supersize Your Business. Never ever heard this expression. I would say I've lived a busman's holiday pretty much my entire life, but I didn't know what it was. And all it is an expression from the late 1800s, early 1900s, where buses were pulled by horses. And some of the bus drivers loved and cared about their horse team so much that even on their days off, they would ride their routes to make sure that the driver that was taking their place on their days off was treating their horses how they thought they should be treated. And this became known as a busman's holiday. So anytime you're doing something on your time off that you're not getting paid for, it's considered a busman's holiday. I always thought that was just ownership and being a workaholic, and that's the environment I grew up in. But a couple of examples would be of a carpenter who builds a tree house for his kids on the weekend and spends the whole weekend building a tree house or remodeling or finishing their basement. Those would be considered busman's holidays because they're doing something on their time off using the same skills and abilities they have and they get paid for, but for themselves or for some friends or something or for something else. Think of Doctors Without Borders. Doctors who are doctors that they're paid to be doctors. Most of the time, if they go on a trip where they're helping other people and donating their skills and abilities but not getting paid for it, that would be considered a busman's holiday. So my question is, have you ever been on a busman's holiday? Have you ever heard this expression? Because I never had. Maybe it's because I've never been to England, never been to the UK. Maybe someday I have friends there, so I'd love to go there. I'd love to see it. A lot of my family, I'm trying to think, most of my family and my extended family has actually been there, just not me. So with respect to busman's holidays, I think that as I have gotten older, I spend more and more time doing what I love, and when you love what you do it all the time. You don't turn it off. When you're living in your genius zone and you're doing things that you're good at and you love to do, it doesn't get turned on and off whether somebody is directly paying you for it or not. I would contend that when you have your own business, a lot of times you're working 7 days a week, whether you're getting paid for it or not. You're doing activities that build you as an individual and build your skills, which investments in ourselves are always the best investments, right? And they will pay returns 100-fold that you can't even calculate. So if you're going to personal development things on the weekends or to industry events, industry shows or trade shows to get better at your skill, and you're not getting, whether you're getting paid for it or not, that would be, I would think, an example of a busman's holiday. So I actually really love the concept, maybe because I live it. But then I got to thinking, do most people live that way? I don't think so. I used to think, sometimes we think that everybody thinks like we do and lives like we do, and it's, kind of naive, but the truth is most people don't. As human beings, we have some ways of thinking that are consistent and across the board, but for the most part, each one of us is on our own little unique journey to figure stuff out, to figure our life out, right? And to create the life that we want. So I'd love to know, what do you think of this busman's holiday thing? Are you a person that does the same thing on the weekends as you do during the week, or no? And that's, assuming you have a job and you go to work and da-da-da-da-da. I know a lot of people, I have a brother-in-law who, I have two brother-in-laws, right? One is into his business because he owns a law firm every day, 7 days a week. He's always thinking about work, right? And then I have another one that when he has a job, he's retired now, but when he had a job, he went to his job, he did his job, he did a great job at his job, that as soon as he walked out the door, he left all of that behind. And I actually envy people that have the ability to do that, to just turn it all off and then switch to something else. But I also wonder, who do you think is happier? The person that's working in their genius zone and giving value, whether they get paid for it or not, and that's the core foundation of their being, or the person that goes and does something during the week and then turns it off and they do on the weekends what they really want to do? I mean, maybe you've got an adventurer's heart and you're in a corporate cubicle job 5 days a week, and then on the weekends, every weekend you're off on some exotic, crazy adventure. I wonder if that person's happier or the person that's always living in their genius zone. I would love to know what you think about that. I never thought about that before, right? I just thought of it now. So doing what you love, I think it's really, really important. And I think it's one of those personal development things that as we get older, we realize how valuable our time is, and we want to spend less and less time doing things that don't feel awesome to us. That's my objective. Thus, the bathrobe. So, busman's holiday. Challenges, of course, I've got a lot of challenges going on. One, I'm doing Michelle Verog's Spy theme, which I love the theme, Content Crushers Challenge. Today is day 3 of that. Day 4 of my, no, lied, day 5 already of my, I call it the Fast 16. one of my sisters and one of her friends had told her about this style of eating, this lifestyle way of eating where you eat in an 8-hour focus time. And I've heard of it. I just kind of went in one year and out the other. I never went in and researched or looked into it. And to be honest, I still have not, because it seems like it's just a concept that you kind of make your own and you tweak and you adjust it like everything else so that it works for you. So right now, what I'm doing is I'm not eating after 8 p.m. and then the next day I'm not eating until noon. So that's my 16-hour fasting window. And then from noon to 8 p.m., I just eat like I normally would. The biggest change for me has been not eating breakfast, because I spent like 9 or 10 years training myself to like and eat breakfast. So that's a habit that I'm just these last couple of days looking at and saying, well, do I feel better or not by not eating breakfast? Because all of the information, or not all of it, but the thing about health is there is so much conflicting information, it's sort of mind-boggling, right? You can find information to support whatever you want, whatever you believe. I'm sure if I looked hard enough, I could find a caramel diet or a system that says you can eat all the caramels you want and that's the way to lose weight. I'm okay, maybe being a little far-fetched, but you know what I mean. With respect to health, it goes through this spectrum of change, and the truth is, each one of us needs to pay attention to ourselves. We need to treat ourselves like our own science experiment and figure out what actually works for us. I have a really good example of this and how it can really mess you up. After my sudden cardiac arrest, I went on this huge search for, all right, taking care of myself, because I hadn't been doing it for decades, and that ended up with me dying, and luckily I was in the right place at the right time, and they were able to bring me back and freeze me and do all that. So after that, I'm like, all right, if I don't make massive lifestyle changes, because that is the one thing I read in all of the literature after following a heart event, if you don't make massive lifestyle changes, the statistical chances of you being around 3 years are really, really small, and 6 years almost infinitesimal. So I decided I had to make massive lifestyle changes, and I went on this huge search and study, like I do everything. When I want to know about something, I just throw myself into it in massive action, and I find all the resources I possibly can on it. Well, with health, that was like so confusing and so overwhelming, especially now that the internet has come into play. Back in the day when I first started being this way and researching everything and looking into things and trying to learn and find things out about a specific topic, you had to go to the library. And if you have to go to the library, it's a limited number of resources. You know, you could send off to different libraries for different publications and books and reports and things. But for the most part, our access to information was extremely limited. Now, our access to information is absolutely unlimited, and it can be overwhelming. And with most major topics, you know, health, wealth, well-being, relationships, there is so much information. If you don't pick out exactly and look for what you're looking for, you can easily get overwhelmed and lost in a sea of information. So with respect to health and the conflicting information, I finally drew the conclusion that it was up to me to figure out what works for me. So as I was doing this, I was picking up pieces of information and applying them to my life and testing them. And all of the information that I was reading and doing had to do with heart health, right? I was focused on, I want my heart to be healthy. I don't ever want to have another sudden cardiac arrest, and I never want to have a heart attack, yada, yada, yada. And what do I need to do for that? Now, it turns out that after 7 years of this, about 7 years, I was still here, so I was super excited about that, right? I didn't die. My heart is relatively healthy for having gone through this event and other issues, but everything what I was doing was what's good for your heart in all the data and all the statistics. Well, it turns out I had an injury, and that injury triggered a whole lot of inflammation and challenges that I've had for decades, but that I kind of had under control. And it turns out, through some more study and research, and one of my good friends, Cheryl Loris, thank goodness, thank God for her, that what I was doing was good for people with heart challenges, but super duper bad, the exact opposite of what I should be doing for a person with my particular blood type. Now, I'd never even heard of eating for your blood type, but when she told me about it, I looked into it, and I thought, I have nothing to lose. And it was at a time when I actually literally couldn't walk. I couldn't get out of bed. So I had nothing to lose, so I said, okay, I'm going to do this, go in all full in on this eating for my blood type. Figured out my blood type, ate for my blood type, and within a week, I was out of bed, and within 3 weeks, I was 90% back to the pre-challenge health that I was at, and that was amazing. But what I learned is that you have to take everything that you learn and filter it through your own experience with it and apply it to yourself and really treat yourself like your own guinea pig, your own lab rat, and ask yourself, well, what's really working for me? Because it turns out 80%, well, over 80% of what I was doing was bad for my blood type. So my body was spending all its time and energy fighting all the things that my body actually thought of as bad or toxic for me and eliminating them. So when I had that injury, it didn't have the ability to fix that, and it triggered everything, and it's not a very good time for me. But I'm back, so instead of it being a 3-year bedridden experience, it turned into being just like 3 weeks where I was, pretty much, I still was moving, but I wasn't moving. I mean, it was bad. I always underplay how bad things are with me. My family laughs at me after my sudden cardiac arrest. Everybody would ask me, how you doing? I'm like, I'm awesome. I feel great. I never have any health challenges. And my dad and my one sister just laugh at me because they're like, are you ridiculous or what? You were dead yesterday, you woke up from the coma today, and now you're saying you're awesome? Come on, really? So I kind of laugh now at that too. But you know what? We get what we expect. I love that saying, and I know a lot of people hate it. I swear that's partially responsible for my divorce, because one of my favorite sayings is, you get what you expect, so you might as well expect the best and expect an incredible outcome. And then if you fall a little short of it, you fall a little short of it. But if you expect nothing, guess what? That's what you're going to ultimately get. So treat yourself like your own science experiment, which is part of why I love challenges and tests and experiments. And maybe it's because the science nerdy engineer in me, but we all find things that work for us. So my whole point of that was that you have to make each of these things your own, and that's why I didn't research it and all the information on it. Plus my eyes are really bad these days, so it's much more challenging for me to research things, and I don't really want to spend all of my time listening to having things read to me about that particular topic. My health is just one component of my being, right? So I don't want to spend an inordinate amount of time focusing on my health. I've got systems and habits and things put in place that automatically take care of that for me. Now, when there's something that pops up or I see a result that isn't what I want, I do something about it, which, just coming off the sugar challenge, which I've done 6 days already, not eating any processed sugar and not eating sugar on it or in anything, or automatically not eating sweets. And yesterday, one of my amazing sisters brought me 4 bags of homemade cookies from a local, or a neighboring town where they have a cookie factory. And I'm like, really? So luckily, having company, and we'll let them consume the cookies, but I don't need to eat a bunch of cookies when I'm trying to do a no sugar challenge. And so I'm trying to go a 10-day challenge. And so I just committed to that. Right now I'm going to do a 10-day challenge instead of just a 5-day challenge. And since today's day 6, I don't think it'll be actually today's day 7. Let's take that back. Today would be day 7 if I'm doing that. So D7 sugar. Yay, there, I just gained a day. Woo, 60+% of the way already, right? And that's how I like to look at things, is how close am I getting to my goal, not, especially after the 50% mark. I run to the 50% mark, and then I take a deep breath at 50%, celebrate a little, and I'm like, okay, we're going, we've got momentum. Because everything over 50% toward a goal feels like downhill to me. I adopted that philosophy on my walks. Another thing, after my sudden cardiac arrest, I started exercising again. And every single day, I had to do something, either ride my bike, ride my exercise bike, go for a walk. I don't run. Running is not good for my ICD. I did experience that. But so every day I would do something. And to make it easier for me, I would set a goal. This is the path I'm going to go on. This is the distance I'm going to go. And I would work to the halfway point, and then I would take a deep breath, and I'd say, And then even if I was tired, no matter how tired I was, I knew I was already over halfway there. The other trick with that was I would go halfway, and then my car was that same half distance away back, and I couldn't get back if I didn't finish my workout, right? So it was really a tricky way of tricking myself into meeting my goals and having to meet my goals. I didn't have an alternative. You know, if I didn't walk back, or if I didn't get back to my vehicle, I wasn't getting home, right? You know, what would be the alternative? I could call somebody to come and get me and carry me off the path. That was never going to happen. So that was just ways of setting myself up for success. We always want to find little tricks and ways to set ourselves up for success. Live challenge workshop, working on that. March 23rd is the date that I picked to launch that. So that is when it will launch. So I've gotten plenty of time to put the pieces in place for that. I've done hundreds of challenges, right? Probably thousands of challenges, but I've done hundreds of formal challenges where I've led people through them, or I've led myself and people through them. So I'm just formalizing that structure and teaching other people how to do them, because if you have a structured foundational way of handling challenges, you can create and do anything that you want. You can get results faster than other people. Other people will look at the results you're getting in certain areas of your life, and they'll think it's miraculous, because you can get results in days that it takes people years to achieve, literally years. So working on that. I think I said content crush. Did I say I'm doing Content Crushers, Michelle Barag's challenge? And it's one funnel away, week 2, day 3 today. I am not going through day by day doing the entire challenge, but because I've done it 4 or 5 times before already. I don't need to do that right now when I'm doing other things and setting up my own launching process and things. So not working on that. And I'm not coaching a group through that. I was thinking about it, but I'm not right now. So maybe the next one I'll take another group through. I don't know if I'm going to do that or not. I'm looking at changing up and focusing more on my genius zone and the things I really love to do than promoting and sharing other people's. I've actually got that on autopilot if I want to, so I could keep bringing people into that. But I like to have the level of support where they can have access to and get their questions answered. So I need to add live components to it. And this time through, since I'm creating my own thing, I didn't want to be providing that level of service with it. Love the One Funnel Away Challenge. When I came across it the first time, I was actually in the beta group. I'd been doing challenges for, decades. And so it's really fun to see it formalized and as a process for achieving a goal and objective that a lot of people are struggling with. I think that ClickFunnels has over 100,000 monthly users, and the vast majority of them are not making money or getting success, just like everything else in life, right? Of the businesses that people start, 95% of them fail. Why is that? Because people don't know what to do. They don't know what to do next, or they're spending their time and energy and resources doing the wrong things, the things that aren't going to get them the result that they want, because that's what they've been taught to do. That's what, it's not their fault. It's not our fault we screw up. Is it my fault? It's my fault. It's my responsibility that I am on day 759 of documenting my journey. But like I said, I'm never going to be done. We're never ever going to be done creating our life. Not until the day that we take our last breath and we transition out of here, right? Till the day we die, we're not done, and we just keep moving toward what we want and creating what we want and having an awesome life. Hopefully we're creating an awesome life. Otherwise, what are we doing as we're here? All right, that's all I've got today. If I can help you in any way, hit me up in the comments below. If there are any questions or comments, what do you think about Busman's holiday? I always love that. What do you think about challenges? I would love to know your experience and your thoughts about challenges. I'd love to have a chat about that. I'm actually interviewing people starting this morning at 9 a.m. I'm interviewing a health coach about challenges for the Pajama Grandma podcast. It's a kind of a new segment I'm doing about challenges, people that lead challenges and why and how and what works for them, people that have faced and overcome or are working on overcoming challenges and what they're learning and what their strategy is and how they've done that. And guess what? Every single one of us have a story that has to do with challenges, right? Absolutely every single one of us. All right, that's it. Have an absolutely amazing day, and I will, of course, be with you tomorrow. Bye.